So the annual CW Arrowverse crossover is over for another year, and I can't wait to talk about it, because every year these crossovers are 100% the highlight of their respective seasons. So yeah, Elseworlds sure was something. So I'm Max over here, and here is going to be my spoiler-filled review for Elseworlds, all 3 parts. I thought it was easier to do all 3 parts in one video rather than do a separate video for each one, because they're very much connected in a way that it's kind of hard to talk about one without talking about the other. So yeah, here's my spoiler-filled review. Okay, so Elseworlds' quick summary is that the Monitor is testing various Earths. He's testing the heroes of various Earths to prepare them for a crisis that's coming. And to prepare Earth 1, he gives a book that can change reality to John Deegan, aka Dr. Destiny. John Deegan then uses the book to try and give himself super speed. He fails at that as he doesn't really know how to use the book, and instead what happens is he ends up switching Barry Allen and Oliver Queen's places. So Barry Allen becomes the Green Arrow and Oliver Queen becomes the Flash. But it's not so that they change themselves, it's kind of like taking the brain from one person and putting it into the other, because all of their friends and family still see them as the other person. That was a crazily complicated summary that I just gave there. It could have been way better. Sorry about that. But then this leads them to trying to fix it all. They have to grab Kara from Earth 38. Since only Earth 1 is affected, Kara still knows that they are each other. Then this brings in Clark Kent, aka Superman, yay, which brings them to finding Batwoman, to John Deegan, and a bunch of other stuff. But let's talk about this crossover. So, what did this crossover do right? It did a lot right. So as a huge Superman fan, and a huge fan of his characters in general, this crossover was great. They did Superman perfectly, and Tyler Hoechlin plays him brilliantly. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but I'm going to say that anyway, as it might be wrong, it might not be. We also got introduced to Lois Lane in this crossover, played by Elizabeth Tulloch, I believe her name is. I haven't seen her in anything else besides this, but yeah, she was really great as Lois Lane, and I think that it really felt like they were setting up Superman and Lois Lane as a big part of this crossover, as it's revealed to us that Lois is pregnant, and that at the end of the crossover, Clark proposes to Lois. And I couldn't help but think, is this setting up for Clark and Superman to come back in a big way in Supergirl? But we established earlier in the episode that that Clark was going back to Argo with Lois, and that Supergirl was going to be kind of minding the whole world while he's away. So that kind of puts the idea out there that the character's going to be gone for a bit. But I find it hard to think that why would they give all of this development if he was going to be gone for till next year's crossover? And the only thing I can think of is that the rumors about a Superman show in the works aren't just rumors at all, because this really felt like a backdoor pilot to Superman's character. But talking about backdoor pilots and new characters, this actually brings me to a con of the episode, and that is Batwoman. So we've known for a while now that they're making a Batwoman show, and that Elseworlds is essentially a backdoor pilot for her character. It was actually, way back around Comic-Con, it was really emphasized by the people working on Elseworlds that this was going to be a Batwoman-focused crossover. That obviously changed somewhere along the way. I have a feeling it changed when they realized they could use Superman, and so they started trying to work Superman into the crossover in a big way, which in turn made Batwoman only kind of be in part 2. The Batwoman costume looks awesome. So cool. And the main theme they gave Batwoman, great. It's one of the best pieces of music we've heard in this entire universe of shows. And that's saying something, because the music in these shows is always such a highlight. But the Batwoman theme that Blake Neely gave her character, I haven't been able to get that theme out of my head. I keep going back and replaying this scene from the end of part 1, where we get that zoom-in shot of Batwoman standing on top of Wayne Tower, because the music that plays is just so damn good. Everything else about the character that we've seen, though, doesn't get me excited. Ruby Rose, there's definitely potential there with her acting, but I don't know, something was definitely off about it, and I couldn't really get invested in the character. I didn't really feel any attachment or any kind of... I didn't feel interested in her character, and I was just kind of thinking, why am I supposed to care about her world? There was a great scene, though, at the end of part 2, where Kara and Kate are talking, and this is their version of World's Finest, because they can't use Batman yet until Gotham's done, so they can't just have Superman and Batwoman, it wouldn't work with World's Finest, so it's Supergirl and Batwoman, and Batwoman just calls them World's Finest. That was a great scene, and in the background, the music again, it was a mix of Supergirl and Batwoman's themes, and that was a great scene, and that did kind of make me interested to see a Supergirl and Batwoman team up. But other than that, I didn't really like her character at all, and this is where things get iffy, because this crossover felt much more like a Superman backdoor pilot than a Batwoman backdoor pilot, which is weird because Batwoman starts filming in April, and there's still no official confirmation on a Superman show. But I'm interested in the Batwoman show. Of course I'll watch it. It's in this universe. I think they could have made her debut, they could have given it a lot more impact than they did. Another problem I've had with this crossover was 1990s Flash from the 1990s TV show. There was a lot of promotion for that character, for John Wesley Shipp coming back to play him, and everyone was posting about it. He was all over the trailers and the theaters and the promotional photos. He was barely in the crossover role. He was in part 2, and I think he had about a minute and a half of screen time total. That was it, and then he was just gone. And we actually don't know what happened to him. The Monitor kind of snapped him away. He opened a breach and just sent him somewhere, and that was it. We didn't see or hear from him again. None of the characters even asked, I wonder where that Flash went. So that was kind of dumb, but I have a feeling he's going to come into play somewhere down the line, because now that we know what's coming, and that's that this crossover was all set up for DC's biggest storyline ever, Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is DC's Infinity Gauntlet. I would actually say that Crisis on Infinite Earths is much bigger than DC's Infinity Gauntlet, or than Marvel's Infinity Gauntlet. Infinity Gauntlet's just Thanos, he gets the Infinity Gauntlet, he's snapping people out of existence, the Avengers and the X-Men and all the villains have to team up and stop him. Yeah, that's not what Crisis is. No, Crisis on Infinite Earths is the destruction of the whole multiverse. It's a pretty bigger deal. I think that's pretty big deal, pretty more important than Thanos snapping people away, because Thanos just affects Marvel's 616 universe, not the entire multiverse. So yes. One final bad thing about this crossover was how isolated it felt in comparison to other crossovers. I didn't like how they very much played these episodes out as being one of each show. For example, most of the Arrow episode took place in Starling City or took place in Argus. Most of the Flash episode took place in Star Labs in Central City. Most of the Supergirl episode followed Supergirl characters. Last year's crossover did a great job of making it feel like one giant movie, and making it wasn't jarring that each episode was an episode of its own show. It just felt like it all just glued together. This crossover, not so much. It definitely felt isolated, and every episode felt very much like whatever show it was on, and it really ruined the momentum. For example, when in part 2, when we had Felicity, Diggle, and Curtis talking to Cisco and Dad about all of her Queen problems, or in the Flash Party episode where we had Ralph, Iris, and Sherlock in the background, kind of giving commentary on the Battle with Amazo. It kind of broke it up in a way that I wasn't so okay about. And also on that, the title card this year for the openings, where so the Flash now would switch to Elseworlds, they weren't near as cool as last year, where it was just all the title cards were Crisis on Earth X. That was great. I feel like they should have done something like that this year, but they didn't. But besides those small things I mentioned, Batwoman, 1990s Flash, and how isolated the crossover was feeling, everything else was perfect. It was just great, and we got confirmation that this is setting up for Crisis on Infinite Earths. The Oliver Queen confronting the Monitor scene in part 3, it has to be one of my all-time favorite scenes in the entire universe. Oliver is just there. He's like, my whole life I've been filled with darkness, but Barry and Kara, they're different. They're good. They're hope. They are heroes. I'm not. You're going to kill them? You're not a very smart god if you're going to kill them when they're the only ones good enough to stop this crisis that you're preparing us for. That was a brilliant scene. I paraphrase that a lot, but that was amazing. I loved it. And it's just getting me so excited. There's probably big implications for the deal that Oliver made with the Monitor. It probably doesn't bode well for his character, but I'm going to do a video on that to talk about what deal he may have made. Overall, I did love this crossover. I felt that parts 1 and 2 were weaker than anything out of Invasion or Crisis on Earth X, but I felt that part 3 of Elseworlds was stronger than anything in Crisis on Earth X or Invasion. And overall, I think that by the end of it, I do prefer Elseworlds over the other big crossovers, and so I would give this crossover overall a 9.2 out of 10. So thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you, and have a great day.